So now we're going to talk about the concept of social problems. So there's problems, but when do they become a social problem? There's always problems. There's poverty, there's disease, there's crime, homelessness, etc. But sometimes society seems to decide that this is a problem that society has to fix, that it's a social problem. But why? What happens that it suddenly needs to be fixed? Well, there isn't one answer. There's a lot of theories, of course, and many things happen. Some ideas are that a problem becomes a social problem when a large number of people are affected. So unemployment is a person's problem, but when the unemployment rates get high enough, does our society suddenly consider it a national problem? Is it when only certain people, i.e. white people, middle-class people, are affected by the problem? So there's a lot of thought that the national concern about the opioid crisis developed because originally it was just affecting white people. Is it just when enough people in society are upset about the problem, not necessarily being affected, but they're upset about it? So there's always been bullying in schools. When did it become a national concern? Or sexual harassment. Frankly, women have always been treated rudely at the workplace, or very often. When did it become a problem? Even pollution. People lived with littering and pollution for decades, hundreds of years. When was it considered a problem that needed to be fixed? Now, some say that it's the media and the news that makes it a problem. So there are people questioning, was crime as big a problem in the 1980s as everyone thought it was? Or was it just this heightened TV and newspaper blitz that made it seem that crime was everywhere? So these are just a few examples, a few ideas of why our society decides that something is a social problem, it must be fixed. But why does this matter so much? Because when our society decides that this is a problem that must be fixed, this will lead to new laws. They may be laws about sexual harassment. They could also be laws like the war on drugs that led to thousands of people being incarcerated each year. It can lead to funding for new programs, for community services, for youth programs, but it could also lead to cut funding for existing programs like aid to families with dependent children. And sometimes these changes can do a lot of good, and sometimes not.